Good afternoon, listeners. The afternoon has the feeling of false normalcy today, I dare say. So calm and so average. Not a nice enough afternoon to write home about, but not a dreary one either. That is, of course, despite our new beachside status. I still cannot be sure exactly why it seems like our city has suddenly become an island. It's certainly interesting. You know, I didn't have much interest in island living before I made our wonderful city my home. I cannot say this has increased that already low interest level by any decent amount. But enough about my feelings, let me bring you some average, normal, completely standard news. The Little Rock mayor, given our new island status, is passing a new city ordinance about feeding the seagulls. The seagulls, which have become particularly abundant since the palm trees first started appearing. No, you know what? I cannot believe the council has the gall to pull something like this. After everything I've done for this city, Okay. Allow me a moment to gather myself, listeners, lest I start trouble with our dear station management. The seagulls, which have become particularly abundant since the palm trees first started appearing, have been causing problems for citizens citywide, including stealing food from trucks and, reportedly, ice cream from babies. The city ordinance will go into effect immediately, so be sure you aren't caught feeding seagulls, lest the city council find out and judge you accordingly. Listeners, I do feel bad for my little mistake back there, my slight outburst. Surely you all would forgive me for something like that, wouldn't you?
Acknowledgement of classified information identified. Failure to comply identified. Host Victor, stand by for instructions.
No. It was nothing really. It was about the city council, that's all. I was just particularly perturbed about the new seagull ordinance, I swear. I speak to appeal classified information acknowledgement claim, and I am standing by.
Host Victor will continue the scheduled radio show while deliberation commences.
Host Victor will continue radio show, thank you very much. Computer voice acting all high and mighty. Anyhow, before I get rudely reprimanded again, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. This week at the library, John, who works in Level 4, has been hard at work getting an early head start on summer reading programming. The library will offer endless fun this summer for kids, teens, and adults alike. Elizabeth, the station weather specialist, is also hard at work, gathering data, sorting through computer models, and denying over and over again the accusation that forecasters can control the weather itself. All in all, it looks like our library is gearing up to have an absolutely fantastic summer this year. I just can't wait I just can't do it. Listeners, this is more dire than I think I am currently able to express to you. To choose my words very carefully, I know that this is not looking particularly good. For me, at least. But you have my word, listeners, you are safe with me. For as long as I am in control, and I am in control here, you are safe with me in this city, our glorious city. Have you ever driven down Chenal Parkway at night, dear listeners? Heading west, coming from Little Rock, you can see, closer and closer as you drive, the glow of the magnificent Chenal Mountain Antenna Farm. Farm is sort of a deceiving word for it, as is antenna if you are thinking now of a television antenna you can position with your hands. Those broadcast towers stand atop the highest point in our county, sending radio and television signals miles and miles into the Arkansas forest and plains and even into rural towns. You can see them from North Little Rock, from Maumelle, from many surrounding cities and towns. They are like a beacon in the night, lights reminding airplanes they are there and reminding us that we are here and we are connected. A symbol of mankind's ability to communicate. A visual reference to the lonely radio host sitting in a studio, seemingly speaking into the void. The red lights atop the tower blink, and how many eyes see them? The radio host speaks, and how many ears hear him? He speaks not into the void, never into the void, but into the ears of listeners. some just as lonely as he is, some just as lost in the vastness of our world, in the darkness of night. The dark that would be all-consuming if not for those little red lights standing proudly atop hundreds and hundreds of feet of metal, never wavering, never moving, and never failing. So many live and work every day in the shadows of such power and beauty. From those blinking symbols of connectivity, all the way to the majesty of our incredible Arkansas River, cutting through the land, precise but also erratic, nature deciding the path and man merely agreeing with it. From nature's beauty to the buildings and the streets of downtown, with streetcar tracks built directly into the roads and some structures perhaps even older than I myself. And believe me, listeners, that is a number that I will never be allowed to tell you, for the shock of it would render you all speechless. But what really makes this city so wonderful, what really makes it incredible is not the buildings or the mountain or the river. What really makes our city so lovely, listeners, sounds so cliche, but I will stand by it. What makes it so amazing is the people. You, my dear listeners, you make this city an incredible place to work, to live. To inhabit this city alongside all of you has been a pleasure almost immeasurable, almost indescribable. And how incredible it has been to cast my voice across trees and rivers and lakes and into your phones, your computers, your cars even. To speak aloud so that your mind may perceive it so far away sounds so mundane when you realize it occurs every day, every hour. When you put it into words like, "Can I talk to you?" or "I was just talking to them." But it remains such an incredible feat that I will never cease to be amazed at the ease of it. It is something I fear I have taken for granted, my most loyal listeners. It is something I fear may not last forever. A deliberation is taking place far from our ears, far from our knowledge. Have I been a good host? I cannot imagine having been as good a radio host as you have been, listeners. I'm getting sentimental, aren't I? There is so much I cannot tell you, so much you still cannot know. About me, about the library. Even now I must speak so carefully.
Where's the weather? It is time for the weather. Radio host Victor shows reluctance. Noted.
Reluctant? Are you kidding me? All right then, I suppose it's time for the weather. Listeners, it seems the city of Little Rock has taken quite well to being a beachside community. They're out there now, frolicking in the water, building castles in the sand. What an interesting point in history, the appearance of the beach in Little Rock. The ocean along the land of this incredibly landlocked state, where many people have never even seen the ocean, let alone lived beside it. Yes, I'm sure the people will all adjust perfectly fine to being suddenly thrust into an unfamiliar climate. I'm sure that if someone decided for this to happen, that they were very thorough with their decision. But of course, no one can control the weather or the ocean. And so there is no one to blame for this ridiculously strange, abnormal, probably scarring thing happening in our lovely city.
Radio host Victor has failed to comply with Section B98 of the Time Continuum Act of 1322.
Yes, 1322. I've got it, I know. Failed to comply, my foot. You can't just... Counsel, you can't just use these arbitrary rules to...
Radio host Victor has failed to comply with Section B98 of the Time Continuum Act of 1322.
You cannot just decide one day that I broke some ridiculous rule. I haven't told them anything confidential, and I haven't spoken out of my time, you buffoons. You cannot just in the blink of an eye take away everything I've worked so hard for. This city is my baby. I crafted it from the ground up. I've been here over 100 years and... Oh, God. Now I've really done it. Oh, listeners,
Little Rock's radio host has failed to comply with Section B98 of the Time Continuum Act of 1322. Host's chosen city will be eradicated in 2 hours, unless the host chooses to surrender the city within that time. Repeat. Little Rock's radio host has 2 hours to surrender the city or it faces removal.
Surely they can't be serious. I need a moment. Let me take you to a pre-recorded advertisement. Have you ever thought about buying things? With money? Beautiful green cash money? Gold coins? Purchase, buy, sale, market, money. Okay, that'll be enough words to throw the automated system off. There's no advertisement, I just finally have a moment where they're not listening, but it won't be for long. This is the only time I'll be able to speak to you without their interference. They're going to... Well, I can't be sure of what they're going to do, but it isn't good. They're this... It's so hard to explain, and my ad slot is running out. They're a council of sorts. There's really no use trying to explain. Listeners, I can't think of a way out of this. They're really tying my hands here. They're giving me no choice. I can't risk... I heard it. That day we all heard Big Rock get destroyed. I know about that. I can't risk that happening to us. That man was a fool, and he put his listeners in danger, and I would never do that to you. The ad is out of time. Give me just a moment. Listeners, we need to apologize for an interruption that took place earlier this afternoon. It seems we were picking up, radio waves from walkie-talkies, yes, and computer voices, and they were being broadcast over the air. We apologize for any confusion. I also have a slightly more personal announcement to make, listeners. I am, as of today, hereby resigning from... Oh, for crying out loud, aren't you going to alter their memories anyway? Confirm or deny memory altering, Council?
Confirmed.
There it is. Oh, all my professionalism has really flown out the window today, hasn't it? I surrender, Council. I surrender the city.
Radio host Victor must speak the terms of surrender in accordance with the Council's policy.
My God, are you really going to make me... All right, fine. Council, I hereby surrender my chosen city of Little Rock, and all of the people I claim as listeners within it and surrounding it. I surrender my studio within the library and request relocation in exchange for the city's surrender. There, it is done. I have to go. My position here has been compromised, and I'm afraid I can't be your host any longer. If you ever hear my voice again, listeners, it will not be here, will not be in the same way. At the end of the day, and at the end, perhaps, of everything, there is always a bittersweet feeling. I am truly overjoyed to have spent this time with you, my loyal, lovely listeners. And I am hoping that by taking my leave now, I can ensure that you all will remain safe and sound, continuing to make Little Rock the fantastic and wonderful kind of city that I have seen during my time here. Thank you for trusting me. I find that I don't want to step away from my microphone. Don't want to leave you all in silence. I will miss this wonderful little studio, its beautiful view of the city, our amazing, resilient city. I will miss all of you, despite the fact that I speak to you not knowing if or when you are listening. I will miss Elizabeth, the lovely weather specialist, and I should think I will even miss John. I think it's almost time for me to... Perhaps just a few more minutes, just a few more words. No, they are here. Listeners, for the good and safety of all of you, I must go. I hope that you all have fond memories of our time together. I know I do. It's been truly, truly an honor to be your radio host this evening. And for the final time, stay tuned.
The city of Little Rock has been spared. Radio host Victor has been relocated. Repeat. The city of Little Rock has been spared. Radio host Victor has been relocated. Little Rock will now be restored. Strange or unusual events will be perceived as fiction. Memory of actual strange or abnormal occurrences will be altered. Little Rock and surrounding area residents stand by for memory altering. Do not attempt to change the station or turn your radio off. Prepare for normalcy. Memory altering in 3, 2, 1.